the app. We welcome in 1320 Kings Insider, James Ham. Hammer, did you watch Hard Knocks last night?
I did not.
It's worth watching. It's
Yeah,
very entertaining.
I probably need to tune in. I try to avoid all preseason football, just because it like skews your outlook on what's going to happen in the
I got
NFL.
Detroit going 17-0 after last night's episode.
You
Yeah,
know, the one that I fell for the worst was when the Bucks were on Hard Knocks, and Jameis was out there and showed him. He had the alarm clock for like 5 a.m. Was out there throwing footballs in the dark. I was like, and he started talking. I was like, oh man, Jameis about to light it up. I think he lost his job sometime during that season.
that's why you never ever believe in preseason football. Preseason football is the absolute worst. You don't get any value out of it at all. So
I got a lot of value after watching J.J. Watt push a tire shirtless by the sunset when the
yeah,
Houston Texans were on. That got me really hyped for the Texans season. And
you went out and did some more crunches.
I did. Yeah, no, I did some crunches by the sunset, though. I was waiting for the sun to get in the perfect spot so I could do my J.J. Watt crunches right
Oh,
there.
Hey,
that's awesome.
Brian Cruz, he brings up a good point. And when he talks about last year wasn't it, should be the Kings preseason T-shirt. Who's the Kings Jamal Williams? Who would be the Kings Jamal Williams? It would be
Last year wasn't it?
would it be
We
T?
Yeah, it's probably going to be Terrence Davis. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it could be Keon Ellis. That would make Brendan Nunez really happy if Keon
That's
Ellis
his boy.
just showed up and 3-and-D and shuts everyone down. Like, hey, look, he's a star, and then he goes back and works for the Stockton Kings for most of the season. Yeah, I could see that. We have seen some preseason. I think in the NBA, it's almost like never trust the final 15 games of the season because that's not real either. So, and if it is, then Skal Labissiere is an NBA All Star,
Oh,
and
oh,
yeah, and not a guy playing. I think he's in Puerto Rico.
Oh,
Yeah, he's not playing anywhere in the states. That's for sure.
my.
Yeah,
Um, we've got some training camp battles coming our way.
yeah, I like it.
Like it's got to be. I mean, we were talking about this yesterday when we found out Quinn Cook was signed. Like it's Quinn Cook or Delhi. It's not both.
Yeah, it's got to be Queen. It's got to be one or the other. I mean, there's a possibility, but there's no reason. Like, why would you need 4 point guards?
Well,
You
we
got
figured it's Quinn Cook or Delhi and Akpala or Moneki.
Yeah, I mean, Akpala, Moneki, and you can throw Ken Bazemore in there. I mean,
I
there's
think
always a
Bays is in.
possibility.
I think Bays is in.
Yeah, you think he is, but these are guys that Mike Brown is really familiar with. They're versatile in a different way. They gave Moneki a 250,000 up front, which is crazy by NBA standards for a 26-year-old guy who's played in Europe who wasn't a prospect in college at all, and went undrafted and has never played in really around like in the G League or anything. That was a lot of money. So yeah, and then the way that Mike Brown used KZ Okpala in during with the Nigerian national team, that tends to make me believe that he's got a shot to be on the team. They really used him they used him to shut down guards. He's 6'8" with a 7'2", 7'3" wingspan, good athleticism. And he's been sitting there biding his time, waiting to get his shot. So, yeah, I think it's going to be intriguing. There's plenty of things that need to happen here. That
So let me ask you this, Ham, with Akpala and Moneki specifically. What's the situation where the one, say if it's between those two and one of them doesn't make it, what could happen with the guy who doesn't make it? Can they go to Stockton, or they have to be outright cut?
Yeah, if you're one of the final three cuts, you're allocated to the team, the G League team. And so that's a way for teams. Basically, what they do is a lot of teams sign what are called Exhibit 10 contracts, which are only like $25,000 or $50,000 guaranteed. And most of those contracts, and the Kings could still do that. They still have one more roster spot. But let's just say that the Kings said, hey, was it Sean McDermott that was with the team? Hey, we really like you. We'll give you $100K to show up to camp. And then they'll sign a deal that says, when we waive you, you got to go to the G League team. And if you go to the G League team and stay there for 30 days or 60 days, you can set the parameters. We'll give you another like $150,000 bonus on top, even though we've already cut you. It's just another bonus that stacks on top. And so that's a way to get guys to stay in the G League and not go to Europe. So we could see that still. And we could see that with Chima or with KZ Akpala. I think both of them, probably will be in the system either way, unless they get claimed. Like there's potential for, Sean Cunningham's, on the Kings Beat podcast talked to us about it. He said that Chima had like two other teams that were interested. I think it was Minnesota and Utah. So there's always a possibility that he gets claimed. But I would say KZ Akpala is a guy too, who's like right on the bubble of being an NBA player. Probably needs some time in the G League to like sure himself up and get ready to be to stick in the league.
But so the two-way spots are pretty set though, or do you think there could be some movement? I guess there.
Well, the only thing, if you're the Kings, because they like both of their two-way guys a lot. The only way you would see something different with the two-way guys is if they elevated one of them to the regular squad. But again, that would mean cutting an additional player. And then I think KZ Akpala fits into, I think you can be a two-way even though you've got 3 years experience. I think you can't if you have 4 years experience in the NBA. I'll have to look that one up. But yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see those guys, whoever doesn't stay in the program. I like McDermott too. I forgot all about him. I'd love to see him be part of the program as well. One of the things that I hope they're starting to do, and I feel like they've kind of done it, is, and you can tell me, Ham, if this is something that goes on throughout the NBA or they're just not there yet, but building almost like a farm system in baseball and like building that up. So we just got past the trade deadline, and people are like, the Giants or the Tigers have the top farm system in baseball right now. It doesn't feel like the NBA has really used it in that way. Is that kind of a plan of Monty McNair and Wes Wilcox to kind of build that G League program up? So maybe there's more parameters and restrictions on it than baseball, which makes it tough. But is that something that's kind of on their radar?
Yeah, the NBA makes it so difficult because you can just pluck somebody else's G League player anytime you want. You can sign them as long as they aren't on a two-way contract. You can sign them anytime that you want. And so, yeah, I wish they would, but at the same time, there's not enough money in the G League. You are just kind of throwing money down a well with the G League, and so you're always going to run into the problem that players can make more money overseas. I mean, we already saw it with Matt Coleman. Matt Coleman would have been a perfectly good player to have at Stockton all year long, but he got a better deal to go play in Istanbul. So he's like, hey, I probably got $500,000 guaranteed, $400,000 guaranteed, maybe something like that. Yeah, and like I'm watching Rory in the Chatty House, and Chima Moneki's deal is a 2-year deal, and I think KZ Akpala's deal is a 2-year deal as well. But the second year, like non-guaranteed, and they're even partially guaranteed for this first year. So those deals, they look bigger than they are, but at the end of the day, they're minimum deals. That have some guarantees, but once you waive a player, like as long as it's before, I think it's January 7th, then you're only on the hook for what you already owe them. So with Chima Moneki, it would be, it's $250 for going to camp, another $250 for making the squad, and then you start paying him once the regular season starts. But it's a league minimum deal at $1 million. So he's already got $500,000, and then you prorate the rest of his money and stuff like that. So yeah, so it wouldn't be that much money either way to keep him, to not keep him. It's not a substantial commitment when you're looking at De'Aaron Fox making $30 million a year.
We understand this is getting a smidge bit granular here.
Yeah.
I kind of like Quinn Cook over Matthew Dellavedova.
Yeah,
I
I
think
do
he
too.
could contribute more. Again, I know they're not going to be asked to contribute a lot, or at least you hope they're not going to be asked to contribute a lot. I like Quinn Cook a little bit more in this situation.
Yeah, I like Quinn Cook. I mean, he's 29. He hasn't had the injury issues that Dellavedova's had. Dellavedova brings like this sort of bulldog mentality. He's a guy who's been called a dirty player on more than one occasion during his career, but he brings an edge to him. Quinn Cook is a knockdown shooter. I mean, I think for his career, he's a 40.8% 3-point shooter. At the with the Stockton Kings last year, he shot something like, I think it was 44%, but it was 8 point something threes per game in the 12 games. I mean, he's just a knockdown shooter. So I would think that he also has a better shot than Dellavedova. But I also look at the way that they signed him. They signed Dellavedova a couple of weeks ago. I don't think there are a lot of other teams looking at him. And I think there were a lot of other teams looking at Quinn Cook. And eventually it got down to, okay, are you going to, you want to come compete for a roster spot with Dellavedova, then that's fine. As opposed to where they were a couple of 3 weeks ago, and it was like, okay, well, we need to lock up somebody, and you're still kind of shopping yourself looking for a better deal.
Yeah, I'm with both of you guys. I like Quinn Cook. I like his shooting ability. I understand like his like my thought about it would be he's probably a little soft on the perimeter, defensively, smaller as well. So that may be an issue. And while Delhi may be older or whatever the case may be, there's just a toughness on the defensive end that he brings to the table. But I think his Quinn Cook's shooting ability, and he's probably a little quicker than Delhi is right now as well, be able to create. I would go with him over Delhi if there was a between the two of them.
Yeah, either way, we're talking about the third point guard. We're talking about a guy who may not even see the court ever this entire season. So it's not like we're talking about a guy either way. And it does, like, we can lump a bunch of these guys in there. We can Chima Moneki and KZ Akpala and even Kent Bazemore. Kent Bazemore would be like potentially a break in case of emergency type player, because the way the guard's set up with, 4 guards that need heavy minutes, you're going to have to steal some minutes at the 3. Harrison Barnes is still on the team. He's going to play 3 and 4. And so you're running into this like numbers crunch. It's going to be really hard for one of those guys to get consistent minutes at the 3 either way, or even at the backup point guard. So I think a lot of this is just like really nice organizational depth to have. We've talked about it. You want professional players all up and down your roster, and that's a good thing.
Did the Sacramento Kings have one of the best off seasons in the entire NBA?
I don't know. I mean, they had a good off season for sure. As far if you want to rate it against their previous off seasons, it's a really good off season. But you still have to. Keegan Murray looked great in summer league. He still has to hit for this to be a great off season. And you need Monk to find a role really quickly, and you need Herter to not be a 12-point a game guy, to be a 15 to 17 point per game guy as your starting shooting guard. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good offseason, but you made solid additions. There was no home run swing at all, and that's okay because you're banking on Fox and Sabonis.
Well, that home run swing was during the season.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And also like it's all relative, right? Because when you look around the league, there are teams who did nothing this offseason. There are teams who lost players this offseason. There was maybe 1 or 2 teams that like were aggressive and added somebody. There wasn't a whole lot of like big time movement throughout the league. So when you look at what the Kings did, I mean, maybe it's by virtue of elimination or non-activity from other people, but they absolutely had one of the best off seasons in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. Again, Can you say that the Kings added a frontline starter? I'm not sure. I think they at least added 2 starters, but did they add one that was like so over the top that changed the direction of the franchise? And yes, that came during the offseason, but there's going to be competition for, who had a better offseason. We'll have to wait until, it plays out a little bit further. Again,
We
Portland.
can't wait that long, James. We've got to talk about this now. This question actually came about because David Aldridge is releasing his list of teams that had the best off seasons, and he released 30 through 21, and the Kings weren't on it. And then he released 21 through 11 or 20 through 11, and the Kings weren't on it.
Yeah.
So he'll release his top 10 teams that have off seasons tomorrow, and unless he just omitted the Kings from the NBA, he believes they had a top 10 off season.
Oh, a top 10 for sure, but the best, I'm not sure about that. Definitely a top
Off
10
the top of your head, who had the best?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to think. Like, and I can't remember. We went over the list earlier of like who he's named. Man, I mean, I think Detroit's probably top 5.
Yeah, Detroit had a strong offseason. Maybe you're right. Maybe there isn't just a ton of movement this year, and no one has just had this overwhelming. Because I think like the Knicks, they had a solid offseason.
Now that I don't remember if the Knicks were named. So these are teams like just.
I think they were.
Oh, were they?
Yeah,
okay.
I think I remember.
Because I don't think he named Oklahoma City.
Well, Oklahoma City had a really solid offseason. I think Holmgren is going to be a stud. One of the is it Jalen Williams or one of
Jalen? Yeah.
Yeah, one of the Jalen Williams. They drafted both of them. Will be back. I mean, will be a player. Like he looks like a big time player. I like what Portland did. Jeremy Grant's a really good, solid player. Is he a game changer? No, but they didn't even give up a first round pick for him. So I like that. They brought back Nurkic. They brought back Simons. They drafted Shaedon Sharp. So they're, I don't know.
They're all about the same as what the Kings did.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it that way,
game changer.
Yeah,
and the Kings included. I don't think they got somebody that shifts your franchise because the reality is that guy wasn't really available this year, or they're still debating whether it's Kevin Durant, Donovan Mitchell. Maybe Minnesota had the best offseason, getting Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, and even that's debatable. And Boston added somebody, right? Malcolm
Brogdon.
Yeah,
I like Gallinari too. I think, matter of fact.
Now that you say that, James, Boston might be number 1.
Yeah.
Brogdon, Gallinari, that's good stuff.
Just trying to take a quick peek. Sacramento will be in there. It looks like Portland will be in there. Oklahoma City will be in there. Minnesota will be in there. Detroit will be in there. Boston will be in there. I'm missing a few. I can't exactly pinpoint who they are.
The Clippers? Did they already say the Clippers?
The Clippers have already been named. I think they were like
Atlanta.
Oh,
Atlanta. Yeah.
Wait, what? Refresh my memory. Why?
DeJounte Murray.
Oh, that's right. DeJounte with the heel turn. He's throwing the ball off people's heads again. I forgot he was an Atlanta Hawk now.
Right. Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Is it though?
I don't. Well, I mean, it doesn't mean they're gonna win. It doesn't mean they're gonna win, but that could be fun. And it's funny because they love Bogdanovich. At least that's what I had heard. That they're he's got another knee surgery, so that's a concern. But he's a guy that, like, every time they have him on the floor, they're a better team, and they know that. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. I mean, the Kings had a very good offseason. They did. It's hard to put them at number 1.
No, and that's fine. And when you mentioned Boston, I didn't even think about that. When you realize Boston might have made an acquisition that can make them an NBA champion versus an NBA Finals appearance, like that's, if you believe that about Malcolm Brogdon, you very well may not. But there is a note, because I think, and again, I'm just working off memory. I think Houston's going to be in the top 5 also. So of teams in the offseason, like Houston, Oklahoma City, for my money, the Portland Trailblazers, they should all finish at the bottom of the Western Conference. And I mean, even Detroit, I like what Detroit did. I'm going to be Detroit's, I'm going to get my league pass money's worth with Detroit. I don't expect them to be anywhere but bottom 2, 3 in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah,
that's where Sacramento is supposed to be different than these other teams. Like, okay, we've built out to ascend. For Sacramento, it's like, okay, we've built out. The ascension has to be right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, again, if you look at OKC's offseason, I think they had a really, really good offseason. And if they want to be good, they can be good. I don't know how good because they're so young, but they can put up 30-something wins with the potential for a humongous leap the next year. They've quietly been building something, and all of a sudden, you might have stumbled into a couple of players that put you over the top and put you into like a much better conversation. So I like that team.
That's an interesting point, though, because you talk about they could, get into 30 wins. They're to 24 last year with barely trying. They don't want that this year.
No,
they don't want to. They don't want to mess around where the Western Conference has a play-in situation where you get in with 34. Because Oklahoma City's like, hey,
get ready for SJ to be shut down in December.
Yeah, I don't want that. Like we won too many games in October and November. Let's chill out a little bit. We got one more year of this.
It's just interesting because there is such a thing as a losing culture, and a culture of losing. And
I wouldn't know. I'm a Kings fan.
They seem to not care that's what's happening, and they're not getting the tank, moniker that so many other teams have gotten in their position, and that's all they've done is tank. And sure, they've got a bunch of assets. Well, assets got to be players at some point, and you can't just keep cycling through. We've got to a point now where they're cutting reasonably good players. Was it who did they cut that averaged like 10 points and 5 rebounds per game and shot 40-something% from three?
Was it Makayu?
No.
What's his name?
Man, why am I drawing a blank? 6'10" power forward, 6'9", like super skinny. But anyway, like they've got.
Was it the lefty they cut? I can't remember his name either because I liked his game a little bit too.
Y'all are pulling.
Oh, Isaiah Roby. That's who it was. Yeah, they cut Roby, and that's because they don't have enough roster spots for all these guys. And then they've got a stack of first-round picks again and a stack of first-round picks.
Hey, James, we talked about if I was the rest of the league, make them picks. You want all that? I ain't trading with you. Make all the picks. Make all the picks because you're gonna have to let some of these people go eventually with all those picks you tried to stack up. Go ahead, make them all. I ain't trading with you, OKC.
Yep.
Make your 9 picks in the first round next year.
You just worry that eventually they're going to swing for the fence and just
that's
go get a really big player.
But think like that's like think if if Donovan Mitchell doesn't get traded and Oklahoma City continues down this route, or even strange circumstance, Kevin Durant doesn't get traded, and Oklahoma City goes down this route and they land, maybe they don't land the number 1 pick, they land a top 5 pick next year. They still have a massive treasure trove of draft picks that now all of a sudden you've got Chet going into his second year. You've got a highly coveted rookie, no matter whichever one you land. You still got Giddey there. You see what SGA's future is. Now you could package something with all of these draft picks, which appear to be more valuable than players now in today's NBA. And you could go get Donovan. You could go get Kevin Durant. You could get whoever the next Donovan or Kevin Durant is.
It's very possible. I mean, I'm surprised they haven't used those picks in previous drafts just to keep moving up. Get a better first round pick because they're in a position where they have so many first round picks that you could leverage those to move from 10 to 5 and give up 2 or 3 first round picks. Like, why not? Why not just try to increase the sort of risk reward of the first round pick that you're drafting? Just bump up your odds.
The thing about OKC that we're gonna find out and we're gonna have to I guess just eventually see is whether or not like the person that they draft or trade for isn't, how do I put it? Like the circumstances have to be perfect. Donovan might fit because he's got 4 years left on the contract. I'm of the belief if you took a guy with 2 years, like they traded just anybody, let's just say Middleton got 2 years left on his deal, and they traded all these guys for a guy with 2 years left or Sabonis or something like that. I don't think that guy's staying.
No.
So it has to be like the guys that they've signed in the past, they're guys that they had quote unquote club control over, right? Like they were restricted free agents and they just signed them to the second deal and stuff like that. It's different when you talk about having a guy that can be an unrestricted free agent and he's going to choose to stay in Oklahoma City as opposed to going anywhere else in the league. And I think they, much like the Kings, have a hard time with that too. I think OKC would have a hard time doing, being able to have a guy stay. So if they trade all these picks for it, it'd have to be somebody like, that'd have to be the perfect situation. Like 4 years left on the contract. And even then, like, are you championship? I don't know.
Yeah, OKC as far as market size and stuff, it's well below Sacramento as far as market size, and on top of that, like there is an added bonus living in Sacramento. Sacramento is a beautiful city. It's really close to a lot of things. It's on the West Coast. It's not Oklahoma City. It's definitely different. There is a lot more. If you're choosing two locations, you had your choice of two locations that you wanted to live. Like most of the time, you're going to choose Sacramento, California over Oklahoma City.
We'll come back. We'll talk more Kings basketball with 1320 Kings insider James Ham. It's Steeler and KC here on ESPN 1320. Clear. Clear.
Tied it up.
Did they? Well, I'm watching.
There you go. Thank you, Damian. Thank you.
The A's tied it up. It's in
really?
the ninth. Yeah, they cut Jed Lowry today. DFA'd him.
Damn.
I mean, I don't know why they haven't DFA'd Elvis Andrews. Let him go play somewhere else.
Elvis Andrews, he was so nice at one point in his career. It's crazy to see what it's
Sure would be nice to watch this 6-6 game, but it's cool.
I'll tell you all about it.
It's cool. Only game this series I can't watch. I think I jinxed the Giants yesterday, James, so I won't watch today's game. Yeah. It's my fault. It was my fault they lost in the ninth.
Got it.
You keep watching the latest Braun Panties match on the 98 Raw.
I turned that off, man. I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take a chocolate pudding match with dude, this I can't believe this stuff was on television.
I've started my bar, building out the bookshelves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a 106-inch wide opening, and I need to narrow it. Because if not, it would be like really unstable and difficult to move bookshelves around, like to have rolling bookshelves. So I've got to tear up the walls and expand the close the opening down. So it's my latest. That's my project today.
Progress pics.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to see that.
Yeah, I pulled the stairs out. The stairs were wood, but they were old and they had been beaten up pretty good. So I've got to strip them down and repaint them and get them all nice, and then that'll be the last thing that goes in after I put the wall back in place. So I should be able to frame it out today or tomorrow and sheetrock it and do a couple coats of taping. So.
Whatever you say, James. Whatever you say, buddy.
I'm just looking at it. Right, it's right in front of me. So I've got it all walled in right now with closet doors from upstairs.
These are all of the words that someone who is overcharging me to do the job for me would tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Whatever you say, bro.
James needs his own DIY show.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be super cool. So it's going to be a whole bank of shelves, but then the left side shelf will actually pop loose. I'll have a hidden door. It'll pop loose, fold into, so it'll actually be 2 shelves that fold into each other and go up against the wall for an opening. And then the other one will be stationary, but it can pop open for when I have, a bunch of people over and I want the opening fully open again. So, yeah, it'll be super cool.
7-6. Jock Peterson with an RBI single.
Ooh, there you go.
Let's go. These fools gave up 6 in the 4th.
Joe, my
Damn.
carpentry job is only at my house. I don't do work for other people. That's how. Ooh, another homer for Aaron Judge. That dude's
45.
Nice.
Yeah, mention that when we come back. 45. Getting that Bonds treatment too. Walked a couple times.
He's gonna go into September with 50.
Yeah, then the debate's gonna start. What is a real home run record?
73. That's not a debate.
Yeah, they could debate with their mama.
I don't.
Okay, save it. This is why I was going to bring it up on the air. Save it. It's nonsense. Jesse, hurry up. Fast forward these commercials.
DVR.
All right, we're coming back in 10-ish seconds.
That's funny.
Here we go. Live on the Odyssey app, Twitch, YouTube as well. Quick note, Corners of the Culture is available now wherever you get podcasts from. It's Casey and I's latest venture into the podcast world, where we discuss all aspects of the culture. Download it. Find out what it's all about. There's a teaser there available for you. Again, Corners of the Culture, wherever you get podcasts from. The first full episode will drop tomorrow with a pretty dope accompanying social media video that you can find on our social media channels at IMKDiddy and at Damian Barling. That's good for TikTok and Instagram as well. So go check out Corners of the Culture wherever you get podcasts from. You can subscribe to it now with first full episode dropping tomorrow. Aaron Judge hit another home run.
All rise.
He's up to 45, and I get a sense a really stupid debate is about to start right here. It's going to cause some people to yell a little bit. So James, right before the break said, or right before the commercial break ended, said, yeah, Judge is at 45. Kenny says he's going to go into September with 50. And James says, well, then the debate is going to start. Before it got any crazy, I said, hang on. Hammer, what's the debate?
I think the debate is what is the all-time home run record.
That's not a debate. There's actually a number attached to it, and it's 73.
And it's got a big old asterisk right next to it.
They could put an asterisk or parentheses or quotation mark they want. It's 73.
It's
Like I said,
73 and 70.
Yeah.
Hey, mama.
I guess I would like to see Judge break that so we don't have to worry about it.
So I just want to be clear. So we want to see okay. I'm sorry to ask this. Why are we sure that Judge should break the record?
Why are we sure?
Like why are we you want him to break the record, obviously, because you think that the 73 marker is tainted. Why would 74 not be tainted? Why are we so sure that 74 wouldn't be tainted?
Well, we're not sure. That's for sure. I mean, I look at Aaron Judge. I mean, he's like a gigantic human being. But
I'm not. By the way, I'm not suggesting that he's. I'm not suggesting he's not clean.
Yeah.
I'm just suggesting in this sport, please. You think the PED era is over in baseball? I don't. I think the PED era is smarter in baseball.
I think you're probably right there. I mean, I've told you guys, I've walked into a Major League Baseball, into the clubhouse in the locker room, and just shocked. Every single dude is absolutely yoked. And I'm used to NBA players who are, there's some buff dudes in an NBA locker room, but
There are far more guys that look like Chris Webber than look like LeBron James.
yeah, there are a lot of tall, skinny guys, and that's what it comes out like, a lot of really tall, skinny guys. And you walk into a Major League Baseball, man, I swear, Josh Fegley, the A's backup catcher, his calves were like the size of a basketball. And I mean, just like, it's ridiculous. Every single guy in there is absolutely yoked. Like, they don't look like the huge human beings that they are when they're on a baseball diamond. You get them off the field, you're like, okay, this is like, I was surprised. Everyone looks like they work out 7 days a week, like 3 to 4 hours a day. Like, they all got their Instagram like Damien, just like rolling deep. No,
I got to show it off while I got it, man. I ain't gonna have it forever.
yeah, no, you look good, man. I'd say this, like stack on 40 pounds to you. That's like your average baseball player. That's what you walk in, you're like, holy cow, these dudes are huge. So yeah, it's a different vibe for sure.
So here's what I ask all the time when it comes to this, and I'm not suggesting any of these guys were on anything or anything like that, but Barry Bonds had 73 one year. He went crazy one season, and everything else after that was like 45, 46, something like that, right? Roger Maris went crazy one year too. How do we know that wasn't enhanced by it? He wasn't no 60 every year and then or 50 every year, and then he just had a really good year and hit 60. He was just this regular dude. And I don't want to say like a Punch and Judy hitter, but he was like maybe 20, something like that. All of a sudden he has 60. How do we know he didn't have something special that year? The greenies and everything, all that other stuff.
Yeah, I think the problem is that you started in like 1994 with Bonds. So in 93, Bonds hit 46 homers. But then it's 37, 33, 42, 40, 37, 34. And then all of a sudden he jumps to 49 and 73. And like, why is the spike? Why does that happen at that point? And I mean, it's pretty clear. So like that's where baseball is.
Maybe he was taking that drug that Aaron Rodgers and Will Smith were taking. Maybe he was taking that psychedelic joint and he could see everything clear.
Well, I'll say
Made his head big.
If anything, Major League Baseball is a league of stats more than any other sport. It's a league of stats, and the stats for his seasons, for McGuire's seasons, for Sosa's seasons, they're just totally tainted. And there was not the sophisticated anabolic steroids in 1961 1961 when Roger Maris hit 61. At least, I mean, there might have been steroids, but that's really more like, 15 years later, we get into the 70s and there's all kinds of steroid issues.
73 is the home run record.
Yes.
But I still think there's something special if Aaron Judge hits 62.
Absolutely. 60 is a crazy number. He could hit 60 and that would be crazy.
Yeah.
Like that's an all-time season that I'm gonna remember. Remember when Judge hit 60? Like, you don't even have to get to 62. That's a benchmark number. Here's the one thing that I'll say about Barry Bonds, because you say, why the spike? Maybe look, wasn't born under a rock. He had something going on or whatever the case may be that helped him stay healthy and all this other stuff. As far as hitting home runs, that I don't know if that had much to do with it. But here's the thing. You say, how did he do it that year? Maybe he was just great. And I'll explain why. Barry Bonds, in his last season, where we all can agree he was not on the juice, he was finished, he could barely walk, not on the juice whatsoever. 42 years old. He hit 28 home runs for the Giants. No Giants outfielder has hit more since he's retired.
Okay, but you're convinced he's not on anything at that point? Because I'm not, and I'm also not convinced that he didn't like stack on a ton of muscle, during a time where men typically don't stack on a ton of muscle.
Well, the only reason I say that is because I remember distinctly. I watch PTI and all this other stuff, and I would say it would probably be, He had 73 in 2001.
Mhm.
I'd probably say 2003 or 4, right? Like I remember distinctly Michael Wilbon, Tony Kornheiser coming on there. Well, we know what's going on. And Bonds is reported to spring training, and he looks visibly smaller. He's not as buff as he was. So we know that whatever he was doing before, he's not doing now. And we're gonna see what the real Barry Bonds is. And he hits 45 home runs. But everybody had the same energy when spring training came. Look how small he is. He's way smaller now. So he definitely isn't on the same thing he was in 2001. So now we're gonna see who the real Bonds is. And he goes out and smacks 40 home runs.
Yeah. I mean, look, like it's not like his muscles went away from like fully went away. Was he not as big? Sure, he wasn't as big, but like, look, it's unfortunate because Barry Bonds was a great baseball player before, and then there comes a point where every baseball player runs out of juice. It happens, pardon the pun, but they get to a point and they start to fade. Like it historically, it's always happened that way. Guys fade.
Mm-hmm.
And then that guy starts yakking 73 home runs after that age. And that's where it's like, okay, come on. It's the same thing with Palmer. It's like, come on, man.
I don't know that anyone's arguing that he wasn't doing anything. It's just it's like we're not erasing the record for that because
Well, I mean, by Hall of Fame standards, his records don't really matter.
That's perfectly fine. You know who else's records don't matter? Babe Ruth, Joe DiMaggio, and Lou Gehrig. None of their records matter because they were playing in the whites-only league. So pardon me for not giving a damn about what they did with a big portion of the population not being allowed to play. I don't care about your 27 Yankees. I don't care about 60 home runs. You want to applaud Roger Maris for 61? That's fine. It was in 1961. I don't give a damn about anything Babe Ruth did because none of it counted to me.
I get
if we're gonna eliminate Roger and Barry and McGuire and Sammy Sosa, that's fine. You better eliminate the whites only league too.
Okay, but that's a completely different argument. So my point wouldn't be that we need to somehow give the home run record back to Babe Ruth. No, the home run record, the 755 home runs, is Hank Aaron.
No,
okay, and then I'll say this: well, what are greenies? Amphetamines.
But he was never accused of taking greenies or amphetamines or anything else.
But that's what they was doing in Hank Aaron's time. And I'm not saying
I'm saying Hank Aaron was never accused of taking. Not everyone took greenies.
I mean, that's not what the old timers say. The old timers say people would come in there, pop greenies like M&Ms.
Well, some players were. Some players were.
They don't say it like that though. They say it like that's just.
Oh no, they're not saying that every player was popping greenies every single day. There's not a player that's gone on record and said that every single person popped greenies every day. And greenies were, like versions of greenies are still around. Guys are still taking versions of.
And that's performance enhancing if we want to get technical, because steroids and clearing the cream and all that doesn't make you strong. That helps you recover so you can go work out some more.
Yeah.
Am I correct? And that's the same thing.
Correct.
If you're tired and you take amphetamines, okay, I'm not tired no more because I took this. I can go work out. I can go play or whatever the case may be. That's performance enhancing itself.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to strip it down, lifting weights is performance enhancing. But what we're talking about is guys who intentionally took substances that made them absolutely yoked and made them hit the ball faster, hit the ball harder, run faster, their head swell up. Like, there's plenty of evidence that says that he took steroids without any question.
And did baseball do anything about it until after Barry broke the record? All of a sudden, Barry was like, oh my God, we've got to do something about this. We're going to ignore this little ratings boost we got from Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa, but we've got to do something about it because this Barry Bonds is out of control.
Well, you look at those guys, they saved baseball at a time where baseball was dying. And again, I don't know who's going to say baseball now because baseball is right back in the same situation. But if you look at what they did with those guys, it wasn't right. I mean, everyone knew. You could look at the guys and, it was ridiculous. But I think the difference is there was like a fun watching that thing unfold every day. And, I don't know like watching Bonds was amazing because pitchers just pitched around him. And if they didn't, he hit a home run. I mean, what do you have, like 232 walks one season? It was just incredible to watch but at the same, he wasn't embraced in the same way that the other guys were embraced. I don't know if it's a personality issue, if it was the two guys going at it, like battling, and you're seeing, sort of this, I don't know, whatever it was, the McGuire Sosa deal just felt more like it energized baseball, where Bonds, it was like, it almost felt like, hey, like what people have said, like he felt like he was being left out of the conversation about how amazing this is. So he went out and juiced. Now, he can say that after the fact, but like, again, I would make the argument that we have no idea when he started taking steroids at all. It was so prevalent, especially in college baseball and minor league baseball, all the entire time he was coming up.
I don't blame him for not. They ain't never gonna let him. Mark McGuire, all these dudes out here. Yeah, I cheated. I want to be a base coach. I want to be a hitting coach. Yeah, admit all that stupid stuff you want. They've hated Barry from jump. I'll say nothing the rest of my life. Y'all ain't putting me in the Hall of Fame anyways. I'll let my highlights, my stats, all of that stuff live forever. The fact that I built that damn park that the San Francisco Giants play in right now, I'll let that be my legacy.
Yep.
Cause y'all loved me. Y'all loved me when people were selling out Candlestick Park and y'all went and built out a brand new park on the water. Y'all loved me then. But we all know the media hated Barry Bonds. That's why all these questions came up, because they hated him.
And Bonds hated the media. And a lot of that, if we go back, like a lot of it goes back to how he saw the media treat his dad. And he was like, he was jaded coming into baseball and Barry's he's that type of personality anyway, where he's kind of moody and stuff like that. But he always talked about how he saw how they treated his dad and treated other players that played for the Giants. And he had a jaded point of view with the media. And the media was like, okay, well, we got the pen to create, whatever the story is and the narrative is around you. I'm Barry Bonds and you're not. We'll never forget that Sports Illustrated cover, and that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't want to play the game, and so, it is a game. If you don't want to play the media game, if you don't, I mean, that's part of. He doesn't want to admit it, and a lot of players don't want to admit it. It's part of your job. If you don't want to play the game, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Just remember that, like when the stories are written. Like, there's so many times that he could have been redeemed, and he chose not to be. And that's fine. Like, you want to be the bad guy, that's fine. But, like, I don't think that there are people that are, like, intentionally going out there and just hammering the guy when he was a player. He earned the reputation he had. There's no question about it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I don't know how we got onto a long baseball discussion about Barry Bonds, but
the Bonds beat with James Hale.
No, I would have chosen no.
What's my man's Conti?
Victor Conti.
Victor Conti. Dude's a genius. Let's just leave it at that. Like that dude is a genius. Okay, we'll end it with this then. I don't know what we're going to get back to the Kings for in 5 minutes, but you asked how did we get here? We got here by Aaron Judge hitting his 45th home run.
Yeah.
Does Aaron Judge get to 62?
Man, it's so hard to hit those extra 17 home runs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's so many home runs. Yeah, I'm going to guess he does.
Wow. I didn't think you were going to say yes.
Yeah, because, it's the lineup. Like, you have to pitch to somebody. And if you're not going to, that's what, like, talk about it, performance enhancing. Like, if there's one thing I'll say about Barry Bonds, like, he had Jeff Kent. Well, for every, Judge has like 7 Jeff Kents. Like, that's just the way the Yankees lineup has been for decades, that you have to pitch to him at least some of the time, because if not, like, the next guy is just as jacked as he is and can hit the ball just as far. And the guy after that, he can do the same thing. Like,
no. I think he gets to 60. I don't think he gets 62. Wow.
It's hard. I remember Maris, like, he started losing his hair. I mean, that took so much out of him. Like the chase for 62. I mean, it just wiped him out. Like, it took years off his life. He didn't live that much longer.
Did he hit 61 on the last day? Do you remember? I don't remember. Maybe
well,
I don't.
The whole thing with him, and I don't know if it's still there, but I remember seeing they put an asterisk on a 62 because it was in
well, it was 60. I think it was 61.
Yeah, 61.
Or 61 because it was in more games.
More games.
It was in 162 games versus 155. Yeah. And he played 161 games that season. So yeah, there is
baseball.
a little. There is a little bit of that. Yeah, baseball is like DeMarcus used to say, the marathon continues. The marathon is baseball. Like it is a full-fledged marathon. It's absolutely crazy.
Hey, can I bring us back to the Kings for just a second? We only got.
Well, I wanted to ask James if he knew where the marathon continues came from, but you know, you can go ahead.
Do you, James?
Come on, you can do it.
But I can't remember. I can't remember.
All right. Nipsey Hussle. From what I understand, Isaiah Thomas introduced Nipsey Hussle to the Sacramento Kings locker room. DeMarcus Cousins became a big fan, and that's how it went.
And Nipsey is getting a star on the Walk of Fame.
James, the Nipsey Hussle beat. Yeah, good call.
I saw that. Isaiah Thomas tweeted that out. He responded to it today. I saw that. I know he's such a huge fan.
So I just want to get this in before we leave. Quote, I don't know if we're quoting tweets or not, but I don't know. Sean Cunningham, quote, as Arco/Sleep Train Arena is demolished, these images are kind of tough to observe. For a building that housed so many memories, this feels like a slow, like death. End quote. Damien, your thoughts?
I wish someone would bomb that stupid ass building just to get it over with. Like,
I just knock it down. It's been I don't like seeing the pictures. I tweeted out the pictures. I retweeted the Kings this morning. It is hard to see like it go away, but like not if you looked at it the last 5 years. It's just like a hole.
Hey, is the reason why they don't blow it up is because they still use the practice facility?
Well, it's still a viable building. I don't know what they're going to do there. I know the Stockton Kings have used that as their not just their practice facility, but as that's their headquarters. That's where they have their offices and everything. Not in Stockton.
So many good memories. It's just so hard to see this happening after 7 years of knowing this arena is going to be gone.
Yeah, just slowly. I mean, it was bad.
When was the last time anybody thought about Sleep Train? Seriously, before all these demolishes. I know I hadn't.
Ain't nobody checking for Sleep Train. Blow it up.
I still call it
Blow it up.
Arco Arena. Arco 2.
Stupid thing up.
Yeah.
God, it's the worst. Corners of the Culture podcast available wherever you get podcasts from. Trista Crick, by the way, weighed in on the top Kendrick Lamar albums. She went Damn #1, Good Kid #2, and Mr. Morale #3.
Jason Jones tapped in too. He got Good Kid at like 4.
Wow. She went Section 84 to Pimp a Butterfly 5. Wow. Goodness gracious.
Gosh.